What is up, everyone? Welcome into ADC Sports Dallas Primetime on this Sunday night. And it's a Mavs 3 game kind of Sunday night. So we are streaming live a little bit earlier than usual, about 10 minutes earlier. So you can get out of here on time to watch Luka Doncic and the Mavericks try to come back from an 0-2 hole versus the Golden State Warriors. Tonight on the show, we'll focus on the Dallas Cowboys. Jalen Tolbert named a breakout candidate for the NFC by Pro Football Focus. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about what we can expect out of him as a rookie. Plus, what does his ideal deployment look like in the Dallas Cowboys offense? And we'll close out the show with some game tree predictions for you guys here on the YouTube chat and the Facebook chat. What is up, everyone? Welcome into the show. Hope that you guys had a fantastic weekend. Hope that you enjoyed the tremendous amount of sports that we had over the last 3 days. What is up, everyone? Thank you for being here. T-Mac Junior Leos over at Facebook. How is everyone doing tonight? Says Junior Leos. Chalk, what is up over at Facebook? Michael Chava saying, excited for Tolbert with Gallup out. He will stand out early in the season. And that is right. That is right. So that's why we will get into that topic tonight. Make sure that you hit the like button, share the stream. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, let your friends know about ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. And without further ado, let's kick the show off now that more of us are here. Here we go. What is up, everyone? Welcome into ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. We are live as every Sunday through Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central. Tonight, a little bit earlier because the Mavs are playing the Golden State Warriors in just a bit. On Primetime, ready to talk Dallas Cowboys football, Jalen Tolbert named an NFC breakout candidate by Pro Football Focus. We'll dive into the details, and we will also discuss what the ideal deployment looks like for Jalen Tolbert within the Dallas Cowboys offense. So we'll get into that. I'm excited about it. Primetime, as always, brought to you by our friends over at freemanmazda.net. We will talk more about them and the ride of the week in a few moments here on the show. But tonight, we have a Jalen Tolbert packed kind of show. What is up, everyone? Do me a favor, hit the like button. If you are new to the show, consider subscribing on ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. If you are not a fan of the show, like the Prince, thank you for your time, though, and your comments and your engagement. This is our year, says Benito. What is up, Adam? Chalky Carnes as well. Gregory, Steve Miller. Thank you guys for being here on the show. We have a lot to talk about, and we'll get started right away because there's a Mavericks game, and I don't want to take too much out of your time. You know, we want to see Luka Doncic and the Mavs bounce back from an 0-2 hole. So PFF put out a list of 6 NFC breakout candidates, and we had a show of our own outlining 6 breakout candidates within the Cowboys last Thursday night. But I made it a rule that we had to exclude rookies because I didn't want us to be high on that optimism use that you can get out of rookies because, you know, it's May, so a lot of people might be ready to call a Pro Bowl season for Sam Williams, for Jalen Tolbert, and even Tyler Smith at this point of the offseason. So I decided, you know what, we're going to keep it out of the rookies. But hey, PFF was thinking otherwise, and this is what Pro Football Focus had to say about Jalen Tolbert, calling him to be a breakout candidate within the NFC, within the NFC as a conference, not as a division, not the NFC East, the entire NFC. And within their reasoning, there's of course the pointing out of Michael Gallup not being ready for September, but also some interesting numbers in it. And I will rate it mainly for the podcast audience. Jalen Tolbert had 5 receiving touchdowns on 20-plus yard passes en route to his career high 98.2 deep receiving grade at South Alabama last season. We know that the Cowboys will likely not have Michael Gallup ready to go early in the season, and that will provide Jalen Tolbert with a lot of opportunities. And it makes sense to make him a breakout candidate because even as a third-round rookie, you know that the opportunity at the end of the day, wide receiver is an opportunity position, will be there for Jalen Tolbert. He will get playing time mainly because of the reason of the Cowboys not having a true number 3 wide receiver, but more than that, their number 2 guy is hurt. And you know that the Cowboys have been wanting to find that deep threat within the receiver group. And here's where it gets interesting, and we'll get into that in just a few moments here on the show. Although we like to call Jalen Tolbert a vertical kind of guy, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's a receiver that you want to line up on the outside, play in and play out. Tolbert has the skill set to win on the outside because he's an ex-receiver with the body type, with those strong hands of his. He can win in the 50-50 ball department. So you know that he can bring that to the table. But his ideal deployment might look a little bit different, and we'll get to that in just a few moments here on the show. Before we do that, if we're calling him a breakout candidate, what does that look like? And my question from me to you guys on Facebook, on YouTube is, will Jalen Tolbert go over or under 550 yards in 2022? If you had to make the call, would he go over or under? While you give me your answers, and before I give you mine, let me talk to you about our friends over at freemanmazda.net, because the ride of the week is the new 2022 Mazda CX-5. But hear me out, not only the Mazda CX-5, we're going to be looking at the Select package this week. It starts at $29,125. And hear me out on these features: all-wheel drive, adaptive cruise control, which is a game changer on the road, Wi-Fi hotspot, amazing feature, Apple CarPlay / Android Auto, of course, and lane keeping assist for your comfort. So check out the Mazda CX-5, the 2022 version, and check out the Select package over at freemanmazda.net, a family-owned business for over 65 years. Once more, that is freemanmazda.net. Let's see some of your answers here. 550 yards for Jalen Tolbert will likely sound like a low number. I'm not sure it is, though. Adam goes with the over. Chava says easily over. Bruno goes with the over. Gregory with the over. Chalky even says, I would say 600-ish. Bruno with the 750 plus, which is a high number, I would say. Steve Miller also with the over. Michael with the over. So a lot of optimism when it comes to Jalen Tolbert. And I was a little bit turned apart with choosing the number for the over-under. I didn't find the official number by the odds makers, but rookies from the first round are all in that 700, 800 range. Michael Gallup back in 2018, and you gotta admit there's a fair comparison there. X-like wide receiver, drafted in the third round. We knew that he was a vertical kind of guy, and we knew that he could win those 50-50 balls. And there were a lot of comparisons during the draft process, even before the Cowboys drafted Jalen Tolbert, between Tolbert and Gallup. There were a lot of those comparisons floating around. And in his initial year in the NFL as a rookie, Gallup had 507 receiving yards. And the thing is, it's got a lot to do with opportunity, right? Since Tolbert will have the opportunity to battle for the number 2 spot since week 1 with Michael Gallup injured, you could see how that's a low number. I will go with the over. I'm not as convinced about it, though. I can see a scenario in which we are a little bit disappointed just because it might take a little bit of time to figure Jalen Tolbert out. Ryan says that's about 35 yards a game if my math is correct. Well, there's that. That's a good point by Ryan Doyle. And something that I had not considered, and I will admit to it right now, is that there are 17 games now. Kenneth Fraser, what is up, everyone? There's also the injury factor. You never know if Tolbert will be able to go the 17 games. We're not trying to jinx him, though. Melvin says, need a quarterback to go over. Oh, Melvin. Dak Prescott that's a good scenario for you. You have to like Dak Prescott in at quarterback for the Cowboys. But I know that's for some reason controversial, since we're talking, of course, about the Dallas Cowboys. And that will never go away as as a debate among Cowboys Nation. I wanted to talk a little bit, though, about what his ideal role looks like. Because once more, Jalen Tolbert, what's the first thing we heard about Tolbert? X receiver. You see the size, you know about the speed, you know that even if he's not the guy that will light up the 40-yard dash, he wins vertically. But does that necessarily mean that you want to play him on the outside like you would any traditional X receiver? The answer might be no. And I remember that we have talked about this earlier on Primetime. We have discussed this a few weeks back, and even since the moment in which he was drafted. But this is from Nate Tice from The Athletic, and he said this during their live stream of the day 2 for the NFL draft. And this was Nate Tice on Jalen Tolbert, who is an amazing analyst for The Athletic, former Wisconsin Badgers quarterback. Nate Tice was talking about Jalen Tolbert being a vertical guy from the slot. Speed of tree. Having that speedy guy on the inside that can win vertically, not necessarily on the outside like a traditional receiver. And Nate Tice said something that was pretty interesting and that might get the Cowboys offense to look a little bit creative. And this was from Nate Tice. Cowboys love flipping their receivers. This is his quote. Having their receiver at 3 and their tight end at 2. So this would be numbering receivers from the sideline in. And I have a picture actually so we can look at it. And don't worry, shout out to the podcast audience. I will describe it for you because remember, you can listen to each and every of the Primetime episodes on Spotify, iTunes, after or whatever you listen to podcasts from. You can catch the episodes after they stream live on those platforms, both Primetime and, of course, Skywalker Steel Show every morning as well. So this is what that would look like. And the Cowboys do love doing that. The Cowboys do love flipping their receivers. And this is from the Week 18 game versus the Philadelphia Eagles. First game that I looked for, and I immediately found an example of this. The Cowboys will have a 3-by-1 formation pretty often. 3 receivers on one side, and then 1 receiver on the opposite side. And they will have their number 1 guy isolated. Not isolated, on the outside, outside of the numbers. And then, although the most usual thing is to have your tight end the closest to the line, the Cowboys will flip that very often. So in this example, you have Blake Jarwin, I believe that is, as their number 2 receiver, with Cedric Wilson as their number 3. And in this play, actually, Cedric Wilson runs a vertical route. Dak Prescott finds him on the seams, and it's a 37-yard gain for the Cowboys on this particular play. That's what could be the ideal spot for Jalen Tolbert. Just playing on the inside as your number 3, forcing the defense to face him with some sort of nickel defender, messing with their defensive structure, and then just letting him run vertically, get up the field, and get that deep threat going on offense. Because the Cowboys have been missing that for a while, honestly. The Cowboys have been in this spot in which, of course, Gallup can win vertically. CeeDee Lamb can also do so. Amari Cooper can also do so. But they need a guy to take the top off the defense off. And even though Jalen Tolbert is not the fastest of guys, that's his game. That's his game, and that's what he did at South Alabama. Got vertical, from the inside a lot of the time. And that fits right into the Dallas Cowboys offense. So that's what I would expect a lot from the Cowboys, even early in the season with Michael Gallup out for the year. No, excuse me. What did I just say? Don't worry. Don't get scared. That was just a hiccup from my part. With Michael Gallup likely out to begin the year. I'm sorry if I scared some of you guys. Maybe some of you thought, wait a minute, did I miss something? I'm sorry about that. But anyways, do you agree or disagree? That would be my question from me to you. Would you agree or disagree that Tolbert can become the Cowboys' deep threat specialist in an offense in which you have James Washington, who was signed to be this speedy receiver and a potential deep threat? You have Michael Gallup, who excels as an X receiver and actually has played as an X receiver at a very high rate, one of the highest rates in the NFL in terms of being isolated. But do you believe that the guy to become that deep threat specialist is actually Jalen Tolbert instead of any of the other guys? Let's see. Ian Miles, as always, just your regular Philadelphia Eagles fan activity. Spending time in Cowboys shows. Gregory says, I like the fact that when cornerback play up on him and tries to jam him at the line, he runs over or through them. So most cornerbacks lay back off him, which he kills them then. Yeah, Jalen Tolbert, pretty physical guy. And that those press skills might translate into the NFL. Do you agree or disagree that Tolbert can become a Cowboys deep threat specialist? Some of your answers here. Terence goes with most definitely agree. Russell says put him on the slot. Steve Miller says agree. Samuel Rowe disagrees. Michael says slot deep threat. Yeah, that puts him on the other team's third or fourth best defensive player. And Gregory goes with yes, he is in time, or he will be in time. And that's what I like about having those vertical guys on the inside. I think that you really get to mess with defensive structures of opposing teams. And in these sort of scenarios, for example, can you get not only the tight end flipped and, not only can you get the tight end at number 2, but you can also walk out there with some creative lineups, having 3-by-1 formations in which the inside guys are CeeDee Lamb and Jalen Tolbert. And I know that we still have not forgiven Kellen Moore. We still have high doubts about Kellen Moore. We don't know what will happen with the Cowboys offensive coordinator. But it does seem to me like play design is a strength of his. And I can definitely see him getting creative with CeeDee Lamb and Jalen Tolbert on the inside. I really wonder about how the Cowboys will use CeeDee Lamb. And I know that we might get answers in training camp or even in the OTAs on this topic. But I remember when talking to Bob Sturm here on the show from The Athletic, he joined us the eve of the NFL draft, and he brought up the fact that if you play on the inside, you can get hurt, and it's more likely to get hurt on the inside because of that roaming free safety, right? And if you're running seam routes, you're always in danger of getting hit. So even the risk of injury plays a role in your decision making as to where you will line up all of these guys. And I thought that was a pretty brilliant point by Bob Sturm. Do the Cowboys, when they sit down to evaluate where CeeDee Lamb can make the most damage, and some of us believe that that is on the inside, but does the risk of injury impact your decision making? And if so, how much, right? And CeeDee Lamb's role is still up in the air. We don't know how they will use him, but we do know that the Cowboys have 3 playmakers, talking about CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Tolbert, and Michael Gallup, that can do a little bit of everything. I believe that Gallup has a skill set to win inside, even though we don't get to see a lot of him on that role. And he's, of course, your ideal X receiver. CeeDee Lamb can do both. Jalen Tolbert can likely do both. So I just love that versatility across the Cowboys wide receiver room. Ryan Doyle says, Mo, you have to feel pretty honored that an Eagles fan would come and spend time on a Cowboys live stream show. I do. I always do, man. I even feel honored that the Prince earlier on the show, who left us this loving message, "You suck, dude. Your content is trash." I even feel honored that the Prince took 5 seconds out of his time to stop by and leave a message. To be honest, Samuel Rowe says Will Fuller will be our deep threat guy. So Samuel Rowe crossing his fingers for a late free agent addition at wide receiver. I don't know, Samuel. I don't know. Michael says if City doesn't step up, he could be competing for his number one wide receiver spot with JT in 2023. That's another angle. I'm not only looking forward to seeing what CeeDee Lamb's role will be, but also how he will fare on that specific role, because we all want to see CeeDee Lamb take that next step. Now you're the number one guy in Dallas. How are you going to fare? And I know that a lot of people have some issues, for example, with how many drops CeeDee Lamb has had. But not that long ago, we also looked at some of the stats there, and drops are an issue. Not saying that they're not, but also a lot of the best wide receivers in the NFL have been leading the NFL in drops over the last few years. So you can have drops and still be one of the best receivers in the league, even though that sounds ironic as heck. But it also has to do with how many times you're thrown the football. So I guess that would be the mathematical way to look at it. The bigger the more targets you get, the more chances you have of dropping the football, and that's why you consistently see some of the top receivers rank high on those drop lists. So there's always some sort of muddy information out there, and that's why you likely should look at drop rates, for example, instead of total number of drops, right? Gregory says, Mo, you have a great show. I wish your show was at least an hour and a half, says Gregory. I appreciate it, Gregory, but I also think there's something about this shorter format that I like. Because if we would go an hour and a half every night, maybe we wouldn't get right to the point like I like to do on this show. But I appreciate it, Gregory, and I surely appreciate the support. And by the way, if you like the show, do me a favor and hit the like button. That sounds redundant, but hey, if you like it, like it. And of course, you know that every like allows us to put this show in front of more Cowboys fans as we continue to grow the ADC Sports Dallas community. Russell says, what are your thoughts? Will Dallas do any more signings at all for free agency? I think they surely will. There are signings coming the Cowboys' way. I'm just not sure that they will be big signings, right? Lauren Michael, on a related note, says, is cornerback Joe Hayden available? He is. And not that long ago, we took a look at 3 potential free agent additions that the Cowboys could pull off. And Joe Hayden was one for me, even though there in the graphic you can see linebacker. That was, of course, a mistake of mine. I think there will be some signings. I think there will be a signing at kicker. I think they will get someone in there to compete with Jonathan Garibay. I think there will be someone that may be a potential linebacker addition. Jose Christian says Anthony Barr will be a Cowboy. Book it. That one makes a lot of sense to me, and I had a show about it last week. Even though we've gotten used to not expecting the Cowboys to pull off signings of free agents that we at least know their names, I think that Anthony Barr can be one that actually happens. I'm optimist on that front. I'm an optimist on that front. I think there will be signings, Russell. I just don't know if there will be a big one. But I think you can get a kicker, you can get a linebacker, maybe even, I wouldn't rule out another offensive lineman, to be honest with you. Clemente says he's going to have an impact, but not more than Tolbert. I think that's a reply to Clemente had said number 48, Ferguson, going to have the bigger impact. Just see. And Roderick says he's going to have an impact, but not more than Tolbert, which I would agree with. I can see Jalen Tolbert having a tight end 2 role. I don't see him taking over the starting role versus Dalton Schultz, of course. I think that would be a major, major surprise. I'm hoping that Ferguson allows the Cowboys to use more 12 personnel, and I'm hoping that number 48 motivates him to get that blocking going like a certain former Cowboy that used 48. You know who I'm talking about. You know. Todd says possible swing tackle after minicamp and OTAs, says Todd Cook. I don't know if we're talking about of course, a free agent signing. Yeah, you could have a potential swing tackle. I don't know. I think the Cowboys are high on Josh Ball and Matt Waletzko, but you never know. If you get to OTAs, if you get to the offseason and you don't like what you're seeing, everything is up for grabs. The Moose, that is right, the Moose. Tolbert is a dog, says Kevin Knight. I love. What up, Mo? Upgrade that degree, says I love weed on YouTube. I'll say it every day. Congrats. Thank you. We're close. We're close to the degree. Jose says Cowboys said they won't sign an offensive tackle. They did. A swing tackle. They did right after they drafted Waletzko. They're kind of high on him. So there are 5 minutes and 40 seconds left on the first quarter of the Dallas Mavericks game versus the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors are up 19-11. Before we get out of here, I'm going to ask you for one more comment. Drop your final score prediction for the Mavs game 3. Will they make it 2-1 on tonight's matchup over in Dallas? Drop your score prediction before we get out of here. In the meantime, as always, let me talk to you about the fact that over on the podcast platform and on adcsports.com/Dallas, Ian has got you covered with Mavericks content. So make sure you check that out. If you're into the Mavs, you can you can subscribe or follow the ADC Sports Dallas Podcast Network on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to podcasts to, and you can catch Ian's Mavericks podcast on the same channel. You can catch the Primetime shows, the Skywalker Steel shows on the mornings. So drop your score prediction. 114-110 Mavs, says Exotic. Let's go. Warriors 123, Mavs 89, says Kevin Knight. Oh, that one hurts. Michael also with some, we're lacking optimism after an 0-2 start from what I can see. Warriors 124, Dallas 99. Jose goes with 3-0 Warriors. Luka cannot do it himself. So not a lot of predictions favoring the Mavs. Robert Chuk goes with 119, 113 Mavs. Todd goes with Warriors 100 and Mavs 110. I will go with, let's call it Mavericks 112, Golden State 109. I'm going with 109 to 112. Give me the Mavericks win, and let's get it. Everyone, thank you for joining tonight's show. I appreciate your time. You can catch me every Sunday through Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central, and I will see you tomorrow, hopefully, with the Mavericks 2-1 by the time we see each other again. So thank you for your time. Have a fantastic start to your week. I'm Mauricio Rodríguez, your Primetime host. Primetime, as always, brought to you by our friends over at freemanmazda.net, a family-owned business for over 65 years. Check them out. Get their A-plus customer service, plus a wide range of new Mazda vehicles. Thank you, guys. I will see you tomorrow.